What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to your favorite pond, the Coy Pond, episode 105. As you guys know, you can find us here on YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcast, Amazon Music, and never, ever, ever forget to leave your question on SpeakPipe. Don't believe we have any anonymous callers this week, but you know what? That just means we must have done a good job last week, you know?
That's good.
Hey, can't complain. And as you all already know, and we have said numerous times, check out the merch store. Link in the description. Thanksgiving is only 2 weeks away. Christmas is only 6 weeks away. Shipping takes at least a week and a half. And you don't want to be that son of a gun that forgot to buy XYZ for their whoever. You know,
right. It's
jam-packed full with powerful merchandise you'd love to see on your lady.
Get out there.
Maybe. I don't know.
Buy.
Maybe. If water blue isn't your color, then maybe not. Or if orange reminds you of the inmate days, maybe it's a different thing. I don't know.
We are working on an exclusive agreement with Victoria's Secret. So once that comes to tuition, we'll be able to put that out there.
That's the first time hearing about this, too, for all you wonderful people out there.
Well, it might not be exclusive, but,
we can only sign so many sponsorship deals at a time.
Any agreement would work.
any agreement. We'll take anything. We'll pay you.
Yes. So you don't want us to use your name. No, we don't. All right, we have agreement.
Yeah, there it is.
All right. Woo.
We'll rip the tags off of every single one. Oh,
VS. We'll put VS all over the Coy Pond stuff.
Oh, man. Well,
anywho,
it couldn't go nearly as bad as Sydney Sweeney with, what was it, American Eagle, that it's like has the right genes, and people saw that as a whole thing.
Oh, right.
But,
yeah. Oops.
I don't think we're quite as decisive as that.
No. Never.
Never. As you all know, Week 10, it just wrapped up in the NFL.
Crazy. How are we that far already?
Yeah, over halfway through the season. Shit's wild.
That sucks.
What really was funny about this past week is I gave my friend shit about the Broncos-Raiders game being the worst game of the week to start us off Thursday. Then we had the Chargers-Steelers game Sunday night, launched that into the Eagles-Packers game Monday. You could make the argument for any three of those, but we had probably one of the worst viewing experiences for primetime games this season.
Yeah, it was.
Maybe?
Yeah, it was not good. And I was talking to Monty yesterday about the Eagles because we're 2 weeks out from the Cowboys-Eagles second matchup.
Right.
So we're prepping for our usual two-time-a-year gathering.
Yep. The
second and final one. But he was just telling me that he was disappointed that they didn't show more offensively. And I told him, I said, but the thing as a fan of the Eagles, if I was you, that I'd be happy about is the Eagles have shown that they could win 40-30.
Yes.
Or they can win 10-7.
You kind of see both of them.
And you got to be able to do all of it to get to the Super Bowl, as they know very well now. But to me, that's kind of an exciting thing because your defense can rise up, your offense can do it. Whatever you need can work. So
yeah, and it may sound like doom and gloom for A.J. Brown at the moment as well. That's a whole separate thing going on. But I agree, they can be in the high-scoring matchups against the Lions maybe that we get this week.
Yeah.
But they also played at Lambeau and held the Packers to only a touchdown. Say what you want about the field goal at the end of that game. I would argue not the smartest thing to do that. You was able to get a kickoff and to see it was short where the ref should have stopped it. Then on top of it, it was already as windy as it was. I get that offensively they hadn't looked great all night. But some interesting coaching decisions from the Packers, a team that's looked pretty good at home, and they just can't get it done where they had more than enough opportunities. I remember looking at the score at one point, and it was third quarter, 0-0 still. Just not a great look from the Packers, and I'm sure right now the sentiment is bad as they go into this next week.
Yeah, not really good, and there's a lot of chatter about the head coach not being the play caller now.
Yeah.
Maybe that cinched that. Hard to say, but, you got Micah Parsons now, and now the Eagles went out and got their Micah Parsons in a way.
Phillips was playing with some power.
Who contributed immediately, so those two teams are probably going to see each other again in the playoffs, I would bet.
It feels like it. And the thing about the rest of maybe just a little AFC talk here, Bills lose to the Dolphins.
Man.
Bills beat the Chiefs, lose to the Dolphins.
Yeah.
Looked who else they look weird against? Bills have been an odd team this season. It feels like at times their defense shows up, and maybe that's injury related. Exactly, I'm not for sure. But then you go out and you play the Dolphins, and you make Tua look like Dan Marino.
Yeah.
After there's all these talks about what's his name, the coach for the Dolphins. Holy shit, McDaniel's not looking so hot as we already predicted wasn't going to look good. Anyway.
Yeah, after you drove past trolling the Bills bar in Miami after the game.
I love it. Listen, say what you want about him as a coach. I like him as a person. Yeah. He's hilarious.
For all the shit the dude's put up with, I'd say he had that.
He earned that.
He earned that.
He earned that at least.
And then let's look at the West. Of course, the Chargers were running through the Steelers. I made that pick. I think you were.
I was against it, but the thing about the Chargers in that game is their defense played out of their mind. But I really think more of it was related to Aaron Rodgers. Traveling across to the West Coast, getting older. He had a just bad game.
Did he?
It felt like his reads weren't there. It felt like they just couldn't get anything started offensively, and he was just making bad decisions. And maybe that was the Chargers' look. Maybe it had something to do with their defense. Their defense last year was the allowed the least amount of points against. But they hadn't been that. There haven't been many instances of that this season, or at least lately, the last few weeks. So to see that in primetime against the Steelers felt pretty good. And without Herbert taking as many hits as it looked like, because they showed that graphic where 4 of the offensive linemen were like 35 out of 36 PFF, 37 out of 38, which those guys didn't deserve.
Yeah.
And they protected Herbert well enough that game. Obviously, he got rolled up on a few times. Didn't love that, but what are you going to do? Chargers won the game. He had some great throws to Ladd McConkey. It is what it is.
Yeah.
Chargers did more than what I expected them to do. But without that Slater or Joe Alt, it's just tough.
Yep. And then I would say, the Broncos, just to close out our little chat with that maybe. But the Broncos, get the job done. And that just proves that the Broncos are legit. Again, whether you're blowing somebody out, whether you're playing a tough game and still come out on top, the bottom line is winning the game.
Right.
And, in that, I think the Broncos have won 5 straight or
something like that.
Something like that now. But to win a game like that where the Raiders gave you their best and you still pull it off, pretty impressive.
Still means a lot. I mean, winning the game is the bottom line at the end of the day.
Yep.
We all want exciting football, but, winning's what it is. And on that note, shall we dive into some picks?
Let us.
I believe it's Week 11.
Week 11,
right?
Yep.
Thursday night matchup, Jets at Patriots. Disgusting matchup. This really feels like after the Patriots are on a 7-game winning streak,
God.
And the Jets have just won 2 in a row.
Yeah.
I'd by no means think the Jets win this. But the NFL doesn't make sense, and this would be the NFL doesn't make sense game.
Yep.
I don't know why I have that feeling. Justin Fields has not thrown for more than 55 yards in 3 of the last 4 games.
Yep.
It's bad over there right now.
Yeah.
They just shipped out 2, Sauce and Quinnen Williams to the Cowboys. I don't know what to think about this game.
Yep.
When you have an over-under at 40, well, I should have started. Patriots favored by 13.5, over-under 42.5. When you have a spread of that wide margin and an over-under of that low, it really makes you think they expect the Patriots to win this game 30-0.
Yeah. Yeah, and I just think, again, to your point, at primetime, divisional game, maybe the Patriots win it, but the Jets, lose by a field goal or something like that.
Exactly.
I think I'm still going to go with the Patriots to win it, but I think the Jets.
I mean, you could take that plus 14.5 and not give up much value.
Yeah.
And 2 touchdowns is a lot, given they did just go into Tampa Bay and handle business, which was very impressive.
Yeah.
But 14 and 2 touchdowns happens rarely.
Yeah.
Maybe it happened 3 times at 4 o'clock last Sunday.
And again, when you're winning 7 games straight, you're going to have a game where you're just off.
There's a slip game, right?
Gotta be.
This would be the one that doesn't make sense. My pick is, I hate this. I think my pick would probably be the plus 14.5 for the Jets.
Yeah.
Just alt at a 1.5.
Yeah.
But Jets, Justin Fields does not look good. Patriots won't have Ramondre Stevenson. Not that that's what makes that team.
Right.
Variable I do believe in, though. I'm so torn about this because it's such a high freaking number.
Yeah. I'm thinking like 24-17 Patriots, something like that.
You know what? I'm gonna take the NFL doesn't make sense times 2 to the second power. I'll take Patriots minus 13.5.
All right.
I think somehow they pull this off by 2 touchdowns.
All right.
Over under 42.5. What do you think?
Under, I think.
Under? All right.
Yeah, it feels that way.
Feels like we're on November stretch for boring football.
A lot of teams right now are kind of midway through this. They're all midway through the season, but I think everybody's seen film of everybody, and now it's kind of like the defense gets a little advantage on things, and we saw that last week.
Yeah.
That probably continues.
I dig it. All right, on to the Spain game this Sunday morning. A real barn burner. Commanders at Dolphins.
Yeah.
Shout out Who's an Authority or House an Authority, who always comments on the videos. Your Dolphins got a huge win against the Bills last week.
Yep.
And now they come over across the pond to your area and take on the Commanders, who have not looked particularly amazing the last few weeks. Obviously, Terry McLaurin out for this game. Jake Daniels out for this game.
Yep.
Commanders been playing some pretty tough teams, though. It hasn't looked good.
No.
But by the books, it wasn't supposed to look good with Jane Daniels and at one point both your star wide receivers out.
Yep.
Now, the Dolphins just gave it everything they had against the Bills.
Right.
Do we think the Dolphins can do that again?
I don't. And apologies to our Dolphin fan, but I think the Commanders have enough talent on that team.
Mm-hmm.
I think the travel across the pond levels it out.
Yep, I would agree with that.
And I think the Dolphins are inconsistent.
Mm-hmm.
Great win against the Bills, no doubt about it. But I think the Commanders are due to win a game.
Yep.
And I think we get it here. And I think it's like a 21-17 game, Commanders.
Yep, I'm taking Commanders minus 2.5. I think that just by strength of schedule, they've played harder teams. They'll be more ready for this game. Obviously, the Dolphins beat the Bills, but that probably takes the wind out of your sails once you get that win. You probably relax a little bit, and then here comes Marcus Mariota looking like Tannehill in the Super Bowl runner. I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that.
Yeah, no, I think something like that's right, though.
And on to the next game, another barn burner. Sunday, 1 o'clock, Panthers at Falcons, 3.5 towards the Falcons, over under 42.5. Two of the most inconsistent teams in the NFL
Good
as well.
Lord.
Panthers just got handled by the Saints. Good call on your part, by the way.
Thank you.
On the last episode. Falcons have now lost 4 in a row. Might match up well against the Panthers here. It's obviously a divisional game. At Atlanta, I have to think at some point, I think Drake London just moved to questionable today.
Did he really?
Yeah, I'm hoping he plays, but...
Because when he plays, he's been a machine lately.
If Drake London doesn't play, is this the Panthers winning the game?
Could very well be.
Is this another it doesn't make sense? Panthers can't win at home and then they go beat the Falcons.
Could very well be. I think Drake London is a big enough playmaker for the Falcons that if he's out, I'd probably tilt it that way.
Okay. So
I agree.
Let's go Panthers if Drake London doesn't play. If he does play, I would take the Falcons at home. They're due to just win.
Yeah.
I would assume it's this game, but quite frankly, it hasn't been too impressive otherwise.
No.
So
really not.
Falcons, I'll slightly lean if Drake London plays. Sunday, 1 o'clock, Buccaneers at Bills. Bills favored by 5.5, over under 48.5. Sounds like Bucky Irving won't more than likely be playing. Chris Godwin, I think, is out for sure. Buccaneers have a couple other injuries on both sides of the ball. Kincaid, questionable on the Bills as of right now. And then they have a slew of defensive injuries. Just got done getting murdered by the Dolphins. Some silly mistakes. Maybe the Bills thought they had an easy win. They got taught a lesson real quick. Buccaneers traveling up to Buffalo. I might just take Bills minus 5.5 here. But Baker Mayfield's made this thing work well.
Yeah.
And if the Bills gave up that many points to the Dolphins, part of me wonders, can the Buccaneers put up twice as many?
Yeah, maybe. But I'm going to take the Bills in a bounce-back game here.
Okay.
Buccaneers on the road. They're in the same time zone, so it's not really a big issue that way. But,
right.
But I'm thinking Bills like 20, 28, 24, something like that.
I like it.
It's a tough one to pick.
That is, because Buccaneers get beat at home by the Patriots.
Yep.
Bills get beat on the road by the Dolphins. I have to think the Bills get angry. I think this is a revenge game to some extent. I'll take the Bills minus 5.5 here.
There you go. Like it.
Okay, the Who Cares Bowl game of the week. Texans at Titans. Several injuries. Don't care. Out of respect for the Texans' defense, I think I'm going to go Texans here.
Yep.
But David Mills looked great last week when they played. Won the game against the Jaguars? No. Who'd they come back and beat?
Texans.
Yeah.
Was it Jaguars?
I think it was.
I think it was.
I think
you're right.
Either way, I'm taking the Texans. I don't really want to give this game much more thought. Texans in an okay spot if David Mills can keep them winning, but other than that, the Titans are just going through it. No head coach, the whole shebang.
Yep, I think 20-7. I think so. The Texans win by 13.
Yeah.
Take the under. There you go.
Amen. Bears at Vikings, 1 o'clock. Vikings favored 3.5, over under 48.5. Now, the Vikings killed the Lions. Not killed. Go into the Detroit, beat the Lions, and then put up a solid game against Baltimore, winning part of the game, but ultimately end up losing.
Mm-hmm.
Bears have not been playing the hardest of opponents recently. They've been winning, but it's been, I think, second easiest schedule by defense for the last 4 weeks, 5 weeks, or first half of the year so far. The way the Vikings have been playing, J.J. McCarthy, Mr. 9, he's back and forth all the time. But I think the Vikings will be facing a much easier defense than what they've been used to the last few weeks. I think the Vikings at home, I like them. I'm going to take them 3.5.
Like it. Yeah, I think the Vikings, I mean, they seem to have enough going on. They seem to have figured out what they do well.
Right.
And they follow that recipe, I think, really well. I thought they would beat the Ravens. It didn't happen, but they were in there for a bit.
They were in it and ultimately couldn't hang in there. But again, that Ravens defense has kind of come back a little bit from where it started off this season, and the Bears have not been playing hard teams.
Yeah, I think this game is 24-20 Vikings.
Okay, there you go. Sunday, 1 o'clock, Packers traveling to New York to face the Giants. Giants favored by 7.5, over under 43.5. And we just got word that Jameis Winston will be the starting quarterback this week. Brian Dable fired.
Yep.
Defense for the Giants on paper looks like they should be great. They've been pretty terrible. And Packers couldn't put up more than 7 on the Eagles in 4 quarters. Call me crazy. I think Jameis Winston could do the funniest thing ever here and somehow win this game. And I know how this is going to sound, and I said at the beginning of the year I was going to fade the Packers as I need to. I think the Giants can cover this 7.5. Jameis Winston is going to throw the ball downfield, and anybody downfield is able to catch it. He might finish this game with 500 yards and 5 interceptions.
I could see that.
He could be the reason they lose this game for sure. But I'm rooting for excitement and whatever post-game interview he has.
Yeah.
And because of that, I will be taking Giants plus 7.5.
All right.
Because head coach gets fired.
Yep.
No running back. No Malik Neighbors. Well, Scadaboo's gone. Malik Neighbors is gone. Jackson Dart won't be starting.
Yep.
This is the perfect situation where somehow the Packers fumble it in New York.
Yeah. You're not wrong. I could see a storyline that goes that way. I think the Packers are, head coach going to be a little ticked off after last week with the questionable on the play calling. And I think they put up a lot of points here.
All right.
I think 31-17 Packers. They get back on track.
That is fair to say. Giants do allow the 4th most yards per game. Josh Jacobs could have a field day against this defense potentially.
I'm going to make a prediction here that Micah Parsons has 3+ sacks.
Okay. All right. Probably true. I'm going to stick with the Giants just for the love of the game.
Sure.
Rooting for parity, if you will. Sunday, 1 o'clock, Bengals at Steelers. Steelers favored it by 5.5, over under 48.5. When these teams faced off earlier this season, it was a 33-31 game, I believe.
Yeah.
Joe Flacco's first game, we were there.
Yeah.
It was electric. Now they do it in Pittsburgh. I think Pittsburgh probably runs through Cincinnati. That defense is certifiably ass. Regardless, Joe Flacco would have to put up 48 points to have a chance of winning this game. Aaron Rodgers is coming off a bit of a sleeper against the Chargers. That will be night and day if he's playing the Chargers defense from playing the Bengals defense.
Yeah.
That is a complete best to worst almost.
Yep.
And I think it's going to just make it – I think it's going to make the Steelers' lives easier. I get it's a division game, but I just don't have any faith in Zach Taylor right now, personally.
Yep. No, I agree with you on the Steelers winning. I think the Steelers win 27-20.
Yep, I'll take Steelers minus 5.5. Sorry, Luke. And speaking about revenge games, Sunday, 1 o'clock, Chargers take on the Jaguars. Jaguars plus 2.5, over under 43.5. Games in Jacksonville. I think Keenan Allen, Justin Herbert will be playing out of their minds. Derwin James will probably murder someone. I might be drinking the Kool-Aid again with how the offensive line has done without Joe Alt last week against the Steelers. Steelers defense has been not what Steelers defense have been the last few years. I'm going to bold prediction and say this will be a personal one for a few veterans on the team and I'm going to go with the Chargers minus 2.5. They kept it way too close against the Raiders, talking about the Jaguars. Mm-hmm. And then, if we are correct in remembering that right, the Texans beat the Jaguars at the end of that game. Yes, it's back in Jacksonville, but this game means so much more to Herbert with the way that went the first time that I think he'll probably still throw a pick six, but it's only because he has a second to throw the ball. And Jim Harbaugh will have the boys buzzing. Yeah, defense carries over from Aaron Rodgers on to Trevor Lawrence. I think they're in a better spot, and they might have figured a few things out after injury. Tarheeb still is questionable. I'm hoping he plays in this game, but we'll see. I don't think that'll be the difference.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think the Chargers are getting it all figured out too, kind of how they need to play like the Vikings to have the best chance. I think they're just in a better place right now as far as their play calling, their team. And again, I think there's going to be revenge on their minds. I go with the Chargers 27-24.
This will be a loud game. No one will ever forget that playoff game. I was sick as a dog betting the Jaguars at halftime. What I will say to you, lovely listeners, if the Chargers go up 27 points, immediately take the money line of the Jaguars if it's that at half. On to the 4 o'clock games. Seahawks at Rams. Rams favored 3.5, over under 48.5. This will be an amazing game to watch on Sunday afternoon. Seahawks have been maybe one of the most electric teams to watch up until this point, and the Rams have been putting up numbers. Stafford, undoubtedly amazing quarterback. Davante Adams, he's questionable right now. We're shooting this Wednesday night. We have not checked our injuries since the day before on Tuesday, so I haven't heard news, but there could be some news. Davante Adams is a huge yes or no for the Rams only because of how many red zone targets he gets from Stafford. He's scored an ungodly amount of times when they're in the red zone. Now, that being said, the Rams defense has been just as impressive this season, almost every week. Seahawks, same way. They have been using Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet pretty extensively. Then Jigba did go out at the end of the first quarter against the Cardinals last week. Who was the Lawrence from the Cowboys that went to the Seahawks?
Dexter Lawrence.
DeMarcus Lawrence had 2 touchdowns last week. I think I'm going to go out on a limb here. I would like to pick the Seahawks, but at home, and it's LA, so there's not really a home field advantage, but the Rams know that. I'm going to give this one to Sean McVay. I think coaching Sam Darnold versus Matt Stafford, potentially Devontae and Puka versus Kupp and Njigba, Kyron Williams and Blake Corum versus Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. And those defenses, I am slightly going to lean the Rams, so I'll probably just take the Rams to outright win this personally.
Got ya. Yeah, I think the Rams, both teams are playing well. I think the Rams I give the home field advantage to them, 31-24.
All right, hell yeah. Next 4 o'clock game, 49ers at Cardinals. Cardinals favored by 2.5, over under 47.5. This has been quite the season for both these teams so far. And in another NFC West divisional matchup, 49ers defense has not looked like what it used to be. They are riddled with injuries and haven't been able to stop anybody. Cardinals have been putting up better numbers with Brissett than they ever did with Kyler Murray. Marvin Harrison still having trouble catching the ball. Can't blame him at this point. And Trey McBride doing Trey McBride things. Whew. With how the 49ers have been, even if Brock Purdy's back, I don't know if that gives him a better chance than Mac Jones, to be completely honest.
Yeah.
Cardinals just got done getting routed by the Seahawks. I'm going to go Cardinals plus 2.5 here, and they figure it out. 49ers, I like. There's just too much question marks around that team right now that are just not characteristic of what we're used to seeing from them.
Yeah, I think Cardinals looked good last week against the Cowboys. The Cowboys or 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Cowboys looked terrible. Cardinals ran into a much better team in the Seahawks and got obliterated. 49ers are somewhere in the middle of that, probably. So I would say I'm going to go with the Niners 24-23.
Okay.
Thinking they have just enough to pull that out.
Close one. I like it.
Yep.
Sunday, 4 o'clock, Ravens at Browns. Browns plus 8.5, over under 38.5. We are potentially looking at an AFC North Classic this week because, as it is in Cleveland, it's supposed to be windy and rainy. On that note, NFL doesn't make sense. Ravens handled the Browns earlier in the season. A lot of that was, I think, the Browns giving up the ball and shit of that nature. The Browns seem to have gotten a few things back to normal. That defense should be fired up after what Myles Garrett told them after their game this week against the Jets, last week against the Jets. That being said, if this game turns into just a run fest, if it's raining the whole time and it's windy as shit, I'm going to go with the Browns plus 8.5. I think the Browns are a much better team at home than they have been on the road this season. And it's the second matchup between the two, and the Ravens won the first time. I don't have much to give off that, but, Ravens defense has been better. Lamar Jackson's been amazing. Derrick Henry's been used, maybe not like he was last year, but he's there.
Yeah.
I think the Ravens win this by 7 points. I don't know if they win it by 8.5 points.
Yep, I actually think the Browns win the game outright.
I love it.
I just think, Ravens coming back to Cleveland, it's personal.
Mm-hmm.
The city of Cleveland will never forget Baltimore moving in the middle of the night.
Yep.
And I think this is one of those games where the weather levels the playing field, and the Browns will win the game 13-10.
That sounds spot on to what this game potentially could turn into. Chiefs travel to Denver, take on the Broncos plus 3.5, over under 44.5. Chiefs been handling business. They had a bye week and then got taken care of by the Bills previously. Broncos offensively have struggled a few times now. It's not like what we're used to seeing where the Broncos run up the score. Their defense has been fine, but offensively it's been hard for them to get anything going. And with how they're showing against the Raiders, I should say, they're going to face a much better team in the Chiefs. Personally, I think this is the start of the Chiefs coming back to win the division. I'll be rooting for the Chargers still, but, it is what it is.
Sure.
I think the Chiefs get one here with how the Broncos have been playing.
Yep.
I think the Chiefs go into Denver and take care of business. I will probably take them minus 3.5, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think the Chiefs go into Bronco land, and Denver's been playing great, but when you struggled with the Raiders the prior week, at home as well, now you got the Chiefs coming in. That's a whole other level of team.
Yeah.
I think it'll be a close game. I think the Broncos will give them all they can handle. Mm-hmm. But I think in the end, the Chiefs will win this game by a point, 21-20.
And they'll be feeling it too because you had 2 weeks to think about the Bills' loss. That can't be sitting right. I know Pacheco's out, but Kareem Hunt does more than enough. And they have something Smith also on the team who's looked pretty good when they need him.
Yep.
Sunday night, primetime, Lions at Eagles. Eagles favorite 2.5, over under 46.5. This game could potentially be amazing. Dan Campbell's now in charge of offensive play calling. We saw how that went last week against the Commanders. Lions kind of beat the brakes off them for the most part, but that's what we'd expect right now. Eagles still struggled on offense, similar situation against the Packers this previous week, and now they're going up against a much harder defensive line with the Lions. Yes, it's at home. That does mean something for Philadelphia, undoubtedly. However, with Eagles struggling a little bit and A.J. Brown not seeming thrilled, I'm going to give the edge to the Lions here. They're rolling. Dan Campbell's taking reins away from coaches that don't deserve it. It feels like the Lions keep heating up here.
Yeah.
And, if anything, this means the Eagles lose this game, and then in the playoffs it means that much more. That storyline I could see clear as day. So I'm going to take the Lions probably outright to win here.
Yeah, I'm with you on that. I think, Detroit lost to Minnesota last week.
Mm-hmm.
Dan Campbell's going to be fired up. That is correct, right?
I think it was Vikings, and then they beat the Commanders.
Beat the Commanders. Okay, that's right. You're right. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. They handled the Commanders, but again, like we said,
it's the Commanders.
Yep. For right now, that's not a fair one. But yeah, I think the Lions, Philadelphia, struggling with Green Bay. Yeah, they were on the road. Yeah, it's Green Bay, but I just feel like they're struggling to get their offensive stars going.
Mm-hmm.
I think the Lions hit that more last week and
Definitely.
tuned up. I think the running game's working. Gibbs and Montgomery are working. I think the Eagles still aren't quite sure with Saquon Barkley what's happening.
It's a weird time for Eagles because they have every reason to be going off, and Devontae Smith had a great week, or a pretty good week. But
yeah, so I'm going to go with the Lions 27-24. The Eagles will be angry and hungry for next week then, which is
the Cowboys.
At Dallas. Yeah.
And who knows? Maybe they do take it out on the Lions, but I feel like the Lions have just as good of a shot to win this.
Yeah, I agree.
We'll see.
Yep.
Monday night, prime time, Cowboys at Raiders. Cowboys favored 3.5, over under 49.5. What are your first inclinations on this game?
Don't know.
Because after watching Geno Smith now for 10 weeks, I don't know how many teams they're going to beat. Now, you could say if they don't go for the 2-point conversion against the Jaguars, they might have ended in a tie. So be it. That score was crazy. I think the Cowboys' offense looks a bit better this week. I think they had the bye week last week, right?
They did, yep.
I think they had some extra time, extra rest to figure life out. I think the Raiders can get the butt end of a potential George Pickens and CeeDee Lamb revolution game. I don't think the Raiders can get much started on offense, even against the Cowboys beating up secondary.
Yeah.
And I think the Cowboys can just outpace them outright.
I think that's accurate. I think this is going to be a real good game from a scoring standpoint. Quinnen Williams is going to be interesting to see how he does against the run. Put him in there, and we'll see what he does with Ashton Genty.
Yep.
But I think Dallas' secondary and pass rush is still very suspect.
I would agree with that.
I would totally expect Geno Smith to look like Jim Plunkett in this game. Maybe somebody more current, Joe Montana. But I think the Raiders will probably put up a lot of points. I think Dallas will put up a little bit more. And I think we're looking at like a 31-30 barn burn that comes down to probably the last 2 minutes of the game.
I would agree with that. I would give a slight edge to the Cowboys, too, on top of the fact that they'll probably have some player on the Cowboys in the secondary that hasn't played much in his career.
Yep.
And I think there's going to be Geno Smith moments where all of a sudden, Mr. Fifth String off the practice squad has a pick six, and that defense fires up.
Could be.
I could also see a world where Ashton Genty gets going, but with how these games go, if you're playing from behind, that won't allow the run game to really get started, and that'll immediately take him out of the game. Because I think the Cowboys will be able to score quick. Cowboys minus 3.5 for me. I'm not even going to think about it, but I agree this could be a very high-scoring game on accident.
Yep.
And on that note,
there you have it, Laddie.
Yeah. You have anything else?
I can't think of anything at the moment.
Neither can I. Lord, I hope the Chargers can beat the Jaguars. We will have to see. Just know at 1 o'clock I will be sweating bullets until 4 o'clock because I can't handle the Chargers losing that game. But
hey,
nevertheless, that's every week.
That's right.
And hell yeah, I don't know we have nothing else.
Can't think of anything else.
Everyone have a great, safe week.
Yeah.
Enjoy your NFL football and your college football. I can't think of any huge matchups going on off the top of my head. And we will see you all next week on the Coy Pond.
Right on.